Hello guys, Gamer jumping into another video, and today we are going to be reacting to 10 terrifying cases of demonic possessions. And, well, I was watching Resident Evil, the final chapter, the movie, and then I realized I forgot to do this. So today we're going to be reacting to it. And let's hit play.
Have you ever felt the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end, or felt the sensation
Hold up,
of cold?
you probably didn't hear that.
Have you ever felt the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end, or felt the sensation of cold out of nowhere, or had unexplainable nightmares? What about suddenly being able to speak in tongues, or waking up to find that you've murdered people and don't remember doing it? The following real-life stories were documented to have happened to real-life people just like you and I. In each of these cases, every person was found to have been involved in horrifying demonic events, all of which unwillingly and none of which were explainable. So prepare yourself to dive into the tales of pure evil, because here are 10 terrifying cases of demonic possession. Number 1 is the possession of Roland Doe. Roland Doe was a 14-year-old boy from the state of Maryland. He was a seemingly normal child born into a German Lutheran family. His aunt, who is a spiritualist, introduced Roland to a Ouija board, and that is when everything changed. In January of 1949, Roland attempted to contact his dead aunt with the Ouija board. Shortly after that, however, strange noises began emanating from the family's home. Crosses and other religious items broke or flew from the walls, and cuts and scratches began appearing on Roland's body. Roland suddenly gained the ability to start speaking in tongues and, upon being admitted to the hospital, levitated from his bed. A Catholic priest, upon speaking with the boy, discovered multiple spirits were possessing him and proceeded to perform over 30 exorcisms. After suffering multiple injuries to himself, including a broken nose, the priest succeeded in freeing the boy. It was this story and exorcism that inspired the original 1971 novel, The Exorcist, that was turned into the blockbuster movie. And to this day, it's considered one of the most harrowing examples of demonic possession. Number 2 is the possession of Michael Taylor. In 1974, Michael and Christine Taylor were enjoying their life in Ossett, Great Britain, when Christine began noticing Michael's behavior was becoming more and more erratic. Upon bringing Michael to her Christian fellowship group, he became crazed, admitting that he felt evil within himself, and suddenly attacked the group's leader, Marie Robinson. From October 5th through 6th, a 24-hour exorcism was attempted, led by Father Peter Vincent. The clergy ended up determining that 40 demons had been taken out of Michael, but a few still remained. But that was an unfortunate omission, as upon arriving home, Michael murdered his wife with his bare hands, tearing out her eyes and her tongue, and almost tearing off her face. He then proceeded to strangle their poodle, and was found later by a policeman naked in the street, covered with blood. Number 3 is the Smurl Haunting. Jack and Janet Smurl were a regular couple who lived in a home in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. The couple alleged that between 1974 and 1989, a demon...
Doggone it. These ads, they have to stop coming up like that. Like, they always come at the worst time. The worst of time.
Regular couple who lived in a home in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. The couple alleged that between 1974 and 1989, a demon inhabited their home that caused loud noises and bad odors, and even threw their dog against the wall while shaking mattresses, and pushed one of their daughters down a flight of stairs, and even physically and sexually assaulted Jack on several occasions. The Smurls' claims gained wide press attention and were investigated by demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren Warren, who concluded that a very powerful force resided there. In 1987, after years of intense prayers and blessings, the Smurls claimed that everything eventually went back to normal. Their story was made into a 2-hour made-for-TV movie entitled The Haunted by 20th Century Fox. Number 4 is the Possession of Anneliese Michelle. Anneliese Michelle was a German woman born to a Catholic family. Raised among 3 sisters, she was deeply religious and went to Mass twice a week. She had a mental illness coupled with epilepsy and on one day began hallucinating while praying. She claimed—
Hold up. Sorry. I never heard of a mental illness. Never heard of that. Are you talking about, like, just mental problems or something? Well, never heard of it being called a mental illness.
3 sisters, she was deeply religious and went to Mass twice a week. She had a mental illness coupled with epilepsy and on one day began hallucinating while praying. She claimed she began seeing devil faces regularly and would hear voices telling her that she was damned and that she would rot in hell. The tauntings became too much for Anneliese, and in 1973, she suddenly tried taking her own life. She began acting erratically, eating insects, and even drinking her own urine. Over the next 10 months, 67 exorcisms were performed on Anneliese, who refused to eat so that she could kill the demons by dying with them inside of her. And on July 1st, 1976, she got her wish, as she died in her bed, a malnourished skeleton. The 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose was created loosely based on her horrific story. Number 5 is the Possession of Arne Cheyenne Johnson. On February 16th, 1981, a seemingly normal man named Arne Cheyenne Johnson murdered his landlord, Alan Bono, in Brookfield, Connecticut. After repeatedly stabbing him with a pocket knife, his trial became widely known as the Demon Murder Trial, as he claimed that he was forced to commit the crime by a demon that overtook his body after fleeing the body of an 11-year-old boy. In a historic event, this became the first time in the history of the United States that someone tried using demonic possession as a defense. Ultimately, the judge threw it out, saying that the court would not recognize demonic possession as real. He was sentenced to up to 20 years in prison. However, he was released after only 5 and is now free to roam the streets. Number 6 is the Peron Family. In 1970, Roger and Carolyn Peron, along with their 5 daughters, moved into what they thought would be the perfect home in Burrillville, Rhode Island. However, moving in proved otherwise. Almost immediately, within only a few days, bizarre occurrences began happening. Strange noises began emanating from the walls and terrible smells like rotting flesh permeated the home. However, it got much worse. Carolyn Peron was possessed by a spirit, causing permeated the home. However, it got much worse. Carolyn Peron was possessed by a spirit, causing her to speak in voices and finally to be thrown over 6 meters into the other room. Multiple exorcisms and spiritual cleansings were performed. However, it's claimed that they are still haunted to this very day. Their horrific story is widely known and became the subject of the 2013 film The Conjuring. Number 7 is the Possession of Anna Eckland. The case of Anna Eckland became known as America's most famous case of possession. In 1912, at the young age of only 14, Iowa resident Anna Eckland had already begun to have severe symptoms of possession, including an intense aversion to anything holy or sacred, including blessed objects or images. She physically could not even enter a church because of some unseen force, and she had an almost obsessive interest in deprived and disturbing sexual acts. The church determined that she was possessed by multiple diabolic entities. However, oddly, some of them were at one time human, namely her father and aunt. Although Anna was a devout Catholic, her father and aunt practiced witchcraft, choosing Anna as their vessel after dying. A successful exorcism was performed, but she was quickly repossessed and would routinely speak languages that she had never spoken before, levitating and even climbing the walls like a spider. Then finally, after 23 days of exorcism rituals in 1928, Anneliese seemingly became herself again. Number 8 is the possession of Elizabeth Knapp. Elizabeth Knapp was the daughter of a farmer and the servant of the House of Willard in 1671. At the age of just 16, she began experiencing pains in her body. Shortly after that, she began displaying strange behaviors and claiming that she was visited by the devil one night and that she had made a pact with him, selling her soul for money and youth. Her appearance began to change rapidly and claiming that she was visited.
Notification. Cut that part out. Stupid notifications.
1971. At the age of just 16,
That's
she
my
began
age.
experiencing pains in her body. Shortly after that, she began displaying strange behaviors and claiming that she was visited by the devil one night and that she had made a pact with him, selling her soul for money and youth. Her appearance began to change rapidly and she would speak in strange voices and would regularly scream out, "Money, money, sin, misery, misery." Even her body would become so contorted that it took several people to try to hold her down. Unbelievably, no other documentation was found on this event, and what happened to Elizabeth is unknown. Number 9 is the possession of Julia. In 2008, Dr. Richard E. Gallagher, a psychiatrist and associate professor of clinical psychiatry at New York Medical College, revealed a case of demonic possession of a patient known only as Julia. Multiple tests were done, and it was determined that Julia exhibited no signs of any mental disorders, and that her strange behavior was likely something more. After personally witnessing levitations, clairvoyance, and items moving around their own room, Dr. Gallagher concluded that Julia was indeed possessed by multiple demons. A number of exorcisms were performed, however, Julia continues to display signs of possessions to this day, telling the psychiatrists that they will be sorry for their
Again?
Were performed, however, Julia
That's the third ad. That's the third ad.
continues to
Or maybe second ad, I don't know.
display signs of possessions
Don't remember.
to this day, telling the psychiatrists that they will be sorry for their actions. And number 10 is the possession of Clara Germana Salih. In 1906, a 16-year-old South African student named Clara Germana Salih was said to be possessed by a demon, making a pact with Satan himself. Religious authorities claimed that Clara demonstrated clairvoyance by revealing the most intimate secrets and transgressions of people with whom she had never had contact. She could not bear the presence of blessed objects and seemed imbued with extraordinary strength and ferocity, hurling nuns about the covenant rooms and beating them up. She could even speak and understand multiple languages that she couldn't before and began making inhuman animal sounds. 2 separate priests performed an exorcism on Clara, where over 170 people witnessed her levitate while the exorcism was being performed. Ultimately, the priests were successful in driving out the evil inside of her, but what those witnesses saw that day would never be unseen. So those were 10 terrifying real-life possessions. I just want to remind you that my limited edition fact t-shirt is only available until December 5th, so press or click the t-shirt on screen now and pick one up for the holidays. If you enjoyed this, I would appreciate it if you left a like on it, and on the right you'll find 2 recent videos that you can press on screen now in case you missed them. And that's it. I will see you guys next time. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams. Well, thank you for the story, Matthew. Always love them. So those were some pretty crazy tales. I gotta tell you that. Those were some pretty crazy tales. So that's gonna be it for the day, you guys. And if you really enjoyed, please like and subscribe. I am just 1 away from 60 subscribers. I didn't even think I'd make that far that quickly. But thanks to you, I did. Thank you very much. GatorGamer chomping out. Goodbye.